Okay, so welcome to Yoga Online and welcome to your MFR workshop. So hopefully all of you got your manual and have had a chance to have a little look through it. Now again, as I said in my email, don't worry, I'll go through it with you and I'll expand on a few parts that need expanding. But again, it's, when I do workshops, I just think it's so important to give you something. Workshops are fantastic, but so many of them, you walk away from your workshop feeling fantastic, and then you don't know how to bring that into your life. So I'm dedicated to giving manuals and recordings or whatever, just anything I need to. And again, you can email me with questions after this to help you to embed this amazing practice into your routines, whether it's daily or weekly. And so let's get cracking now. I've got loads of techniques. We're going to work through the feet, the hips, the legs, the abdominals, the shoulders, the spine, and the back of the head there to end with, which is a lovely one. So we will start with just kind of like going through what MFR is. So MFR is, it's a self-massage in essence. Like, and I mean, who doesn't want a massage every day? Like, and we all know and feel the benefits of a good massage. So it's working on the tissues of the fascia and the muscles. So our muscles and fascia, as in myofascial, muscles, fascia. And so we kind of know what muscles are. We're very familiar with them, but fascia might need a little bit more of an explanation. So fascia is this body-wide web that we used to think it's quite a recent kind of discovery in science in terms of the longevity of the discipline of science. And it's only the last few decades that they've realized that the huge importance fascia has. It used to be something that when they were doing the cadaver labs, they used to just pull it all out, this big stringy stuff, and pop it in the bin, because they just thought it was there to kind of like cotton wool around the important bits. But now we realize that it is a whole system of itself that is absolutely crucial to the wellness of the tissues of the body. So it's a body-wide web, and it supports and it wraps and penetrates every aspect of our body. So every single bit, and it's superficial, that fascia would be found underneath the skin, and deep fascia is the ones that's in our organs, our bones, our blood vessels, our nerve endings, and obviously our muscles. So it's really important in the whole body. But of course, yes, it's all there, but what does it do? So not only does it just support and separate and, get everything working, like basically work as our scaffolding, it also works to fight infection. It repairs tissue. It transmits force. So, if you think of a muscle, if something is pressed somewhere, it transmits the force. That's called biotensegrity. That's why later when we're doing our techniques, I don't want you to get too caught up with the exact position of the ball, because of this trampoline effect, biotensegrity. This thing over here will be affected by what's being pressed here. And then it also is a communication system. So it communicates with our nervous system to the brain, but it also has the ability to communicate itself, which is quite unique. It is made up of cells. So you've got white blood cells. So that's again how it's helping. It's working. It's like it's a system of itself that works with all the other systems of the body. So white blood cells, it works with the immune system, and fibroblasts, which are the really important part within the fascia. The fibroblasts are the cells that actually lay down the new collagen and the elastin when we have an injury. But on that point, very important thing to remember is that we use our fascia not only to help with injuries or tightness, our whole body is constantly regenerating. So it's not just, like, I'm sure some of you do have injuries, and that's great, the myofascial will help you, but even if you don't have an injury, it is regenerating the cells within the tissues, not just the muscle, all the tissues. So that's another really important part of it. Now, on that point, if you have one of the main benefits of fascia in terms of injury recovery is when we have an injury, sunlight in my face there. When we have an injury, the fibroblasts quickly lay down the collagen to get the injury repaired as fast as possible. But this kind of disorganized scar tissue needs to be remodeled, because it doesn't, if it stays like that, it's not in the right correct pattern, it's too disorganized. So what myofascia does, or MFR, myofascial release, is it, as we roll the balls over the scar tissue, and these might be historical scars in your body, it breaks down the scar tissue just enough to have it remodel it. So it will remodel it in a smoother pattern to facilitate better movement of the connective tissue and the muscles. So that's why it's really good for injury recovery. Now within, also I talked about the cells, but there's also this thing called ground substance. Within the ground substance is this molecule called hyaluronic acid, bit of a tongue twister. And you might be familiar with that word because it's plastered all over the place on all the cosmetics at the moment, because it's a molecule, it's a water molecule, hungry molecule. So it attracts water to it. So that's why it's been put into all the face creams. So obviously this hyaluronic acid within the fascia increases the hydration of the tissues. And as we know, hydration is king when it comes to the health of our muscles and our tissues. So by stimulating the fascia, we are increasing the volume of hyaluronic acid, but also the amount it pulls the water in. So that's how MFR is incredibly hydrating to our tissues. It also works as pain management, because sometimes if we've an injury, whether it's old or new, we get stuck in this pain loop, and the MFR can rewrite that story of pain. Now that's a much bigger story that I could go on for the entire 2 hours about, but just that's a good little sum up of it. It kind of rewrites the pain story and helps to, when something is healed, you can still be getting those signals going, I'm in pain, and the MFR can help to dull that and reorganize the kind of the communication up to the brain. Okay, so let's just go through. I've probably gone through an awful lot of that just by chatting there. We'll just quickly I'll go through the manual to make sure that we have touched on the most important points, and maybe talk a little bit about when to incorporate MFR and then how to do it. So yes, we talked about it being a self-massage, a body wide web. It's a sensory organ, and healthy fascia is how it is able to continue to work best. Okay, the benefits of MFR. I talked about that, the remodeling of the scar tissue. So it creates healthy connective tissue, increases mobility and flexibility. Now, flexibility, that's a really interesting one. So we'll do that a bit as we work through our practice here. So say, for example, the old hamstrings, I definitely, and I think a lot of people would have quite a lot of tightness at the back of their hamstrings. So you'll notice if you do a really nice, intense MFR all the way down the backs of your legs there, because again, these chains are connected all the way, and there's these trains, MFR trains. So they, another part of MFR that you can study is something that's tight in your calf, can be something that's tight up here. So we've got these actual lines called trains. So if you do MFR, you'll notice you're more fluidly able to bend forward. And obviously fantastic, but that needs to be captured by bending forward. Okay, so it will increase your flexibility, but these are short gains. Otherwise, we just do MFR once and then we'd all be beautifully flexible. So that's why it's really good to do before a yoga practice, because it can loosen everything up a little bit and allow for you to do your stretching, and then that will capture the flexibility. So it gives you further to go, and then we capture that. Okay, so hydration I talked about. There's the hyaluronic acid and increased circulation. Obviously, we're moving and we're squishing all the connective tissue. We're getting the blood flowing in the area. the glide between the tissues, again, this one is really important. So not only does it wrap around the different muscles, but it gets them to slide against each other. If you think about it, everything is kind of connected, but it needs to also be able to slide against each other, because one muscle might be doing one thing, but if it's attached to another one, it will pull another part of your body up where you actually just want to lift your arm. So we want things to work with each other, but also independently of each other too. And this glide will help that. Release adhesions. So we've talked about that, the scar tissues, injury recovery, breakdown and reorganize scar tissues, create body awareness. And that's another really great one about MFR, is that sometimes it can be very hard to feel the internal sensations of the body, and you'll definitely feel the sensations when you're lying on top of an MFR ball. So it's helping to build that body-brain connection, which is really important to our wellness. Pain management I talked about, and stress management. One of the best things, and one of the main reasons why I do MFR at the end of the day. It's not that I'm constantly stressed, but it's just to finish your day off. It's a lovely way to boost the parasympathetic rest and restore part of the nervous system. So it shuts off the busyness and allows you to prepare for the evening of relaxation and eventually sleep. So a great one for the parasympathetic nervous system. Okay, so we move on to when to incorporate it. So definitely pre-sports. So again, there's different things. Again, I've just kind of won't go into it in too much depth but with sports, they used to do a lot of stretching used to be the main thing, but then they found that too much stretching actually compromised the strength, the burst of strength of the muscle. MFR is the perfect way to prepare the muscles so that they don't injure in intense sports or everyday sports, without compromising the strength of the muscles at the same time. So you go for shorter periods and lighter. And then for post-sports, it's for longer periods and going deeper. So kind of really kind of going into the depths of the muscles there. And for injury recovery and repair, it's frequency. So little and often would be for injury recovery. And again, you're trying to kind of, look for the reaction, and always looking to see what your injury reaction to what you're doing, making sure that it's going well. You're not just hammering into it with the balls. Okay, now one of the, and I'm going to repeat this all the way now through the next 2 hours or hour and 3/4, is less is more. Okay, we're looking for mild discomfort. Okay, of course there's going to be discomfort. You're going to be lying on top of the balls, but it needs to be mild discomfort. So the way I would describe that is that if you get that like yikes kind of feeling where your muscles clench around the ball when you're trying to relax onto it, you've gone beyond mild discomfort. And what's happening there is the muscle is not able to kind of submit and wrap around the ball. So you need to move a little bit away from that. You might have hit a trigger point, which is a point of tenderness. So you need to work indirectly around that yikesy point that made you kind of jump out of your skin there. And then eventually it's like kneading dough. Eventually you can work around the spot and you might eventually be able to get into that tightness there. Okay, so mild discomfort is key there. Okay, and then also what we'll be doing, and what I'd love you to do yourself when you're practicing yourself, is like, it's lovely to feel the immediate benefits of MFR and just how it feels like this kind of fluidity to the body. So what's really lovely to do, and our first technique is going to be our feet, and you'll see it then. We're going to stand, then we'll do the right foot, then we're going to stand again. So you can close your eyes if you feel comfortable doing that and just feel the effects of the MFR. And sometimes you can feel it all the way up the right side of your body. It's not just in the foot, it kind of travels up the body. And that's it's working on the nervous system. Okay, and then you do the second side to equal yourself out. But it's lovely to feel the progress of the work that you're doing to make it feel like you're making progress. Okay, so there's different techniques: compression, roll and cross fiber, shearing and scribbling. I'll talk a little bit more about them as we're going through it. Okay, things to remember. Now, we might not be, well, I suppose we have the time, we probably will be, but like, so it's kind of 30 to 60 seconds on each area, and more is great. Less will give you something, but not as much. So you'll kind of feel it yourself as you play around with it. Like if I do a quick little scribble on my feet, they'll feel a little bit better. But if I do a little bit longer, they'll feel that bit better again. So, you know, kind of the more you do, the more it kind of it affects the area. But 30 to 60 seconds, because again, we don't want to be in our just kind of, if it's just a daily practice or a weekly practice, you don't want to be there for a full hour. Yeah, so 5 minutes a day is better than 20 minutes a week. Less is more. Working indirectly, it should never be painful or sharp. We use blankets, so hopefully you have a blanket. So if you know one ball is too intense, we use 2 balls to distribute the pressure. If 2 balls is too intense, you pop a blanket over it. So I will maybe, for some areas that I know are a little bit more tight or not tight, sensitive, I'll remind you, but don't forget you have your blanket there. And if there's anything that I'm doing that you can't find that mild discomfort, as in it's too much, pop 1 layer over the blanket. If that's still uncomfortable, pop another layer, fold it over and keep kind of building up. Okay, but avoiding bones and joints and nerves, okay? It's just not comfortable. It's not necessarily that you're going to break your bone, but, you know, it's, and it also, if, you know, so say, think of your bony, you're going to be going to the inside of that front hip bone and the outside, but you're not going to be right on it because there isn't much on it, okay? So now there is some bones like our back of our scapula there where there is muscle on it, but some other parts, like you're not going to go in your elbow, things like that. Just not productive, and it's not very comfortable either. Okay, and then of course you stay away from broken skin or inflammation or varicose veins. Okay, so that's just keeping us safe as we go. Okay, I think we're ready to go now into our practice. See anything else? Oh yeah, and then just, you know, one more thing on your own practice is that, like, you'll pick, you're not going to go through all of these in your practice. You'll pick maybe 1 or 2 of them. There might be an area that you're working with that is particularly tight that you'll come back to a little bit, like each day or every second day or once a week, but not one big session. So again, this is just a luxury to do the entire thing. Now you're very welcome to do the entire thing when you have the recording, and that would be good as you start you kind of embed the practice, but you might just go into sections of it. Okay, so let's get cracking.